Okay, so we talked yesterday about how slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then when you get that answer, you leave it as a fraction. Okay, and today we're going to be using that slope to graph. If you remember, of course remember, our x-axis is our horizontal and our y is our vertical. So when you figure slope and you get a fraction, for example, we'll just say you got 2 over 3 as your final answer. This top number relates to your y values, which means it's relating to how you're going to move up and down on your graph. If it's positive, you will of course move up, and if it's negative, you would of course move down. Now the bottom number, this 3, is relating to what happened with your x values. X is your horizontal, so the bottom number is telling us how we're going to move horizontally. One way that a lot of people remember this is to remember the phrase rise over run. The top number is telling you how you're going to rise, go up or go down, and then running you have to do horizontally. So you would do horizontal. So the top number is rise, the bottom number is run. So this number, this fraction 2/3, is telling us we will rise 2 and run 3. Rise over run. So in order to graph, you do have to be given a coordinate point to start with. We'll start with the point -1, -2. There always has to be a starting point of some kind. And then the slope is going to tell us from here, here's how we're going to move. I'm just going to move this over. Now, this is going to be kind of a crude graph because I don't have my coordinate points. So first I'm going to plot my first point of -1, -2, which is right there. Now, I'm going to move according to my slope. This slope, that's a +2. That means I'm going to move up 2, and this is a +3, so I'm going to go over 3. So from this point, I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and then over 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's the next point on my line. From there, I'll go up 2, over 3 again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then once I've done that about 3 times, I have 4 to 5 points, I can connect my dots and draw a line. Obviously mine is not the best because I just kind of sketched that quick, don't have an actual graph paper in front of me. But that is how you use slope to graph. Now, if this was a -2, the only thing that would change is from my starting point, I would go down 2, but I would still go over 3 to the right. So, if -1, -2 is still my starting point, now I'm going to go down 2, 1, 2, but I'm still going to go over 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm still going to go that way. Now, since this is a negative slope, it makes sense that my graph should be downhill, because we know from rate of change and from slope the other day, our last video, negative means going downhill. And as with our first graph, when it was +2/3, we knew it should be going up. So you can kind of do it that way. Now the question becomes, what if the negative's on the bottom number? Well, to make things simple, we always want to go to the right. So if the negative's on the bottom number, we're simply just going to put it on the top number, and you can do that. Okay? -2/3 is the same as 2 over -3 is the same as when the negative is right out front of the fraction. It doesn't matter where the negative goes, as long as you have one negative, you know your fraction is a negative value. So if the fraction's ever on the bottom number, we're just going to erase it and put it on the top number. That way it's easy to remember we're always going to the right. The only thing we ever have to determine then is, are we going up or are we going down? And then if it's positive, we're going to go up 2 over 3. If it's negative, we'd go down 2 over 3. If you have a whole number or an integer, like the number 3, it's not a fraction. Well, we all know, how do we make a whole number a fraction? We put it over 1. And so this would become up 3 over 1. If we started with a -3, once again we put it over 1. Now it's down 3 over 1. So in order to graph using slope, you will need a starting point, and then you just move according to the slope. Up so many, over so many, or down so many, over so many. And you should know, if you have a negative slope, your line better be going downhill. And if you have a positive slope, it should be going uphill. Your homework for this unit, for this, is going to be section 7-3, 4 through 11, 16, 17, and 22. So those are your homework problems from the book.